little elevation sensation.
Head coach of the Warriors, Steve Kerr, Ray Woodson, Tom Tolbert with you. Steve joins us courtesy of the Ring Central guest line. How much has the game changed, you think, in the last decade in the way teams play, the style of play, what we're seeing out there, what coaches are trying to get accomplished out on the court? Just kind of the whole thing as a broadcaster. I mean, it's been 8 years since you've done it. What have you seen in watching the games that kind of jumps out as you as being different?
It's dramatically different. It's faster. You remember 10 years ago, 12 years ago, it was a slow physical game. The rule changes in terms of hand checking and also being able to zone and overload one side means that teams are going small more and more. You might only have one big guy out on the floor and 4 shooters. Everybody's shooting a ton of threes, so that spaces the floor. You put all that together, and it just means for a faster game. You can't put a hand on a guy, and yet you have to chase him out all the way to the three-point line. It opens up a lot of driving lanes. So it's much different. I think it's more entertaining. I like the game better now. I think teams overuse the three-point line. I'm not thrilled when teams take like 40 of them, which I think the Hawks took 44 or something.
44.
In a playoff game.
44.
Crazy. But I like the game. I love the way, I love the direction the NBA is heading.
Do you think, because I think this, and I know when you look at the Rockets are all about getting a dunk or a three.
Right.
I mean, they don't really want to take mid-range shots. They want to get into the paint. But I wonder if there will be a correction here in the next few years where you can use the three-point line to your betterment offensively. Now, you're going to take some mid-range jump shots. I'm not the guy that says you can't take mid-range jump shots. I just want a good shot, whether it's a wide-open three or a wide-open mid-range. But seemingly so many teams now are concerned about running guys off the three-point line that seemingly, to me, you can use that as an offensive weapon where you know guys are going to fire out at you if you space the area in front of the guy and give him a chance to pump fake and take that one power dribble into a nice like 15, 16-foot rhythm jump shot. That's one people are willing to give, but if guys practice it, I think that could be. That could be an underutilized weapon because people don't want to shoot that shot anymore.
It's a great point, and I think the reason coaches are running guys off the line is just there's a lot more guys who are comfortable standing still and shooting a three than there are guys who can put the ball on the floor once or twice and shoot a 17-footer. I saw it last night. Danny Green ran Cephalosha off the line 3 straight times to start the game, and 2 clanks and an air ball from 17 feet. It's just not Cephalosha's game, and so that's it's a common theme. But I think in the playoffs you have to make mid-range shots to win because teams are so focused on what's happening. They're going to take away the layups and they're going to take away the threes. So you better be able to shoot from 17 feet, and the best teams have guys who can do that.
Yeah, it's like the golf analogy. You got the drives, you got the putts, but those 40-yard chips are the ones that get you. So the Rip Hamilton type. I mean, there's a place in the league for guys like that, and do you see anybody like coming out of the college game who could be that type of player?
Well, I think it's ideally you have somebody who can make threes and put it on the floor.
Sure,
I mean, J.J. Redick, look what he's done with his game now. I mean, you saw him making some of those floaters against Oklahoma City, but he wants that three. Nick Stauskas for Michigan is really impressive. I mean, he can make threes, but he can put the ball on the floor. I don't know if he'll be able to get to the rim consistently in the NBA, but he can definitely create some space for himself and make mid-range shots. And those are the kind of guys I think Klay Thompson is like that.
Yeah.
You know, if you have that kind of player in the playoffs, then you can combat what the defense is doing.
I was going to ask you about Klay. I mean, his offensive game, it's taken a step up each year, and he's taking it more to the hoop this year, I thought, than in the previous 2, and emphasizing the mid-range jumper. It's not just 3 or nothing. So do you see that development continuing? What would you like to see from him going forward?
I want to see that continue, and I want to see him post up a little bit. I think he's got such a strong body and a soft touch. And teams play small a lot these days, so it seems like pretty often Klay would end up with a smaller guy on him, and I would like to see him down on the block occasionally. Not necessarily straight post up, but you run a set where he comes off a couple screens and then cuts back to the block and posts up before the defense can get set. He can wear people out down there.
What's the one thing, maybe 2, that you think you want to utilize offensively that maybe you don't see a lot of teams utilizing in the NBA right now?
I don't don't know. I think it's not necessarily something that I don't see, but I just think big to big passing. I think we saw it at times with the Warriors this year. They would have some amazing possessions between Lee and Bogut and Draymond Green. I'd like to see more of that. I think the balance offensively is so important, but when you have big guys who can pass, it opens up a lot of possibilities, and that's how the Spurs play. Both Duncan and Splitter are terrific passers, and they've got shooters all around them, and I'd like to see more of that on this team.
Yeah, you know what I don't see, and we used to see it a lot when we were playing, is perimeter back picks, where back picks would open up guys, especially today when you have like stretch fours, back pick and pop and stuff like that. You see back picks and a little flex action down low, but you don't see the back picks as much. I think back picks are a great weapon to get guys open. But the one thing I don't know if this makes sense, but when I watch the Spurs play, they have an idea of what they're doing and how they're doing it, but they also have a lot of smart guys. Like if a play breaks down, they don't all turn and look at Pop and go,
"What do we do
now? What? No, where do I go?" Like you said, like smoke coming out of their heads. I mean, how important is it to have that guy? How much can you teach that, Steve? And how important, if you can't, how important is it to have guys that just they know how to play? I mean, they know how to intuitively space, and they know how to cut. If they see a guy's numbers, they cut to the bucket because they know the guy can't see him. I mean, how important is that? You played on a lot of smart teams with a lot of smart guys. How much of that can be taught, and how much of that is sometimes you get what you get?
A lot of guys, it's just innate. I think the Spurs have done a good job picking up, somebody like Bellinelli, Splitter, who just have a feel for the game. Kawhi Leonard, I didn't see that kind of feel in college when he was at San Diego State, but it's been drilled into him, and he's playing with guys who have that feel.
Yeah, you see it every day.
You see it, yeah, but I think you have to drill it. I think I really believe in a lot of fundamental drilling. I mean, Popovich and Phil Jackson both believed in that. It was a good, 20 to 30 minutes every day of footwork, passing drills, shooting drills, but really, basic work. But I think you have to do that on a daily basis for it to really pan out. But I do think there's an innate sense of the game that a lot of players have, and this Warriors team, a lot of guys have it. I mean, you can see it with Bogut and Lee, you can see it with Steph and Clay. There's just a feel and a natural ability to pass, and that's it's one of the things that excites me about this job.
I thought one of the things that they really miss with Bogut, see if you agree with this, is his ability to screen, and especially the high screens that freed like Steph for open jumpers. So, I mean, do you see an emphasis on that continuing, increasing, maybe?
He's a great screener, and you have to use that. But again, I like to move people around and move the defense around. That's the most important thing. If you can move the defense around 2 or 3 times and then get the ball to Steph for that screen, it's so much harder to guard rather than just walk the ball up the floor into a 1-5 high screen when the defense is sitting on it. And that's the idea. That's what I'm envisioning. And Pop always talks about. I know I've talked about Pop a lot here, but he's one of my biggest mentors, and he's the best. But he always talks about corporate knowledge and playing together over time and how important that is. And the good thing for these guys, they've had a couple of years together now, but I'm coming in new, and we're going to have to grow together, and I'm sure there will be some growing pains. But I want eventually to have an offense that just really flows and clicks and can utilize the multitude of passers that we have.
Corporal knowledge. A little different than carnal knowledge. We'll discuss that next.
Corporate.
Or carnal. Well,
knowledge. Knowledge is good.
Knowledge. I like knowledge. You like knowledge? I like knowledge too. I wish I had some. All right, coming up more with Steve Kerr. It's the 11th round. He's the one that should be staggering. I'm staggering. We're almost done here. I can make it to 12 though on the Sports Leader.